I would like to just change it now and let's see. 5D Earth. Could we talk about 5D Earth?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would 5D Earth be like for us? So for example, now I'm saying if we've gone through this now, we've done our ascension. We're now 5D. What is 5D? What is 5D going to be for us? What's it going to look like? What's it going to feel like? What's it going to, yeah, I mean, what are our experiences going to be?
More natural, more kind, considerate, respectful, loving, respectful to all life, like the inner earth and the Agarthans inside the earth. Their oceans are alive. Literally, the water is back to being what it used to be, is alive and sentient. And they talk to everything. They know everything is alive because God's a living God, and therefore everything that God makes is living. Planets, rocks, trees, everything. They know the forest as a whole is like a all interconnected living organism. And they've actually done scientific studies where they've shown that trees at the butt of the edge of the forest, that, for example, some kind of insect attack or fungal attack is happening, will relay through the psyllium that's connecting all the roots to all the trees in the forest. And the ones at the middle and the edge of the forest, by the time that attack gets there, they'll have already prepared their defenses and it won't affect them. So we'll get back to an earth where everything's unified and functioning as a whole. The different species we all recognize, we all learn to, if you become completely honest in your mind, then you become telepathic easily. It's like Marla Morgan in Mutant Message from Down Under. And they took her across Australia on a walkabout. And the whole time, to her, they're walking in silence. She's like, they never talk, don't do anything. And then she found out later at a certain point, they all suddenly stopped. And the leader got down and put his hands kind of like over his head, like his antennas or something, his arms up over his head and his knees. And she talked to Uta, who was their interpreter, and said, what's going on? We're getting a message. A message? There's no cell phone, no nothing, right? A message from where? You remember the young man that went out earlier today? Yeah. Well, he's sending us a message. She's like, yeah, okay. Really? Yeah, really. What's the message? Because totally, yeah, right. Sure you are. Okay. So she goes, what's the message? Well, he's killed a kangaroo and he wants permission to cut the tail off. Why? Because the tail is the heaviest part and he drank some bad water or something happened, but he's got a bit of a fever and he's not feeling very good to be able to carry the whole kangaroo, and he wants permission to leave the tail and just carry the main kangaroo here. And we're giving him permission and saying that's okay. And she goes, oh, okay. So they all begin to dig a pit for this kangaroo that's going to be coming in supposedly, this unseen kangaroo for her point of view. And they start gathering herbs to treat the young man's illness. And a few hours later, hikes this young man carrying a kangaroo without a tail. And she's just like, nobody's going to believe this if I tell people when I get back. This is real. And she goes, how do you do this? I mean, she goes, we've been trying to figure out how to break this to you, but, you do not allow yourselves to talk mind to mind because you lie. And so when you lie, you have places in your mind you can't let people go because they'll know what you really mean or what you really said. You should have said what the truth is. And you can't allow them to go in there, but we don't lie. We've never lied. And when you get completely honest, then you can become telepathic. And he said, we've been, for you, hiking in silence, walking in silence. We're telling jokes and we're singing and we're laughing and having fun and telling stories. She goes, huh. So she learned how to do it, but it requires 100% honesty, which for most people,
It's difficult. Yeah.
in audiences, and they say try it for a week, and they get there. A cow won't last a day because my job requires me to lie. You're a car salesman or a home salesman. Our first broker when we went to go buy a home. Pretty much everything she showed us was not honest. She said this and this, and because of my martial arts, when I walk, I'm very sensitive to what I'm walking on and the feel and the solidarity and the strength of what I'm walking on and my stances and all of that. I got in the backyard and it felt like I'm standing on a sponge. I'm like, how come it feels like the ground's spongy? Oh, well, they mitigated the house. What does that mean? Well, they had to dig down and fix the foundation. What? And you didn't think that was important to tell me. So what does that mean? Well, the house is good now. And then they had to backfill it. And apparently they didn't tamp it down enough. Yeah, apparently, huh? And so none of this seemed to be important. See, so this is a lie by omission. If you're supposed to be representing your client, but instead you're trying to make a paycheck and you're not revealing information, like the Gummer says in Tremors, I seem to be missing needed intel here. If you're going to buy a house, that would be needed intel. Because then I asked her, so if we decided to later sell this home, how easy would that be? Well, extremely difficult. And this is an important information for me. Well, I didn't think it mattered to you. So, it's the same thing on 5D and 4D Earth. That won't occur anymore. 5D Earth, you won't even have to do that. You can imagine your house and create it from your imagination and then will it into being. And then when you're done with it, you just will it out of being. So, but 4D Earth, the world is going to be a quite more incredibly beautiful place. The damage that we've done to the earth with all the strip mining and the lithium, like we showed in the green energy renewable true science section of the lithium ponds and all of that, and all those strip mines and all of this horrific things we've done. That's all going to be healing, and very short order will be a thing of the past, and you won't have that anymore. So, the world is going to be just a much more incredibly beautiful place. So, kind of an idea, I'll share a very short MP4 here, just kind of showing it a little bit. So also, it'll be much like it was in the past, where it was pretty much tropical, mostly at lower elevations from pole to pole. And, as you get your carbon dioxide levels to where they should be, where they haven't been for millions of years, we're in a carbon dioxide famine. Plants are barely struggling to be able to stay alive. There's hardly, that's why the trees are so tiny. They're like grass compared to what they used to be. So as all that is healed and repairs, and then people also, this desire, when you can will a house, you can will gold. To have and own will be irrelevant.
Yeah.
The fact that when you realize that it's not really relevant to the quality of life, if you have the things you need and the basic wants, that's all you need. You don't need like $5 million mansions and all of this stuff all over the world and all this stuff. So you would just go there and borrow one for a while, or will one into existence, and when you leave, will it out of existence. So things are going to be a beautiful and different. On 4D Earth, you'll have financial systems. 5D Earth, not relevant.
And in regards to saying the telepathic, so you're saying there that, say for example, we go to 5D now, and we're telepathic. What people like us who maybe 3D now going jumping from 5D, would it be like starting off again?
Uh-huh. So
Because what I mean is that say, for example, like you just said then, not that I'm hiding anything, but but it's that kind of like, if all of a sudden say someone knew all the things about your past and stuff like that, do you know what I mean, that they could so would it be like having a blank slate again, and then you go to 5D, and then it's from then you can then communicate
how
telepathically?
people's memories of the past will pick up, and we'll be understanding because we've all done things.
Yeah.
We've all done things good and we've all done things bad. And that understanding will just accept it as a time of the past when we were being played by a group that is no longer here with us anymore. And we all made mistakes, and we put that and we go with how people are from then on. And because of the nature of where you are and how you are then, and the Tower of Babel and the confusion of tongues or language, people aren't reading. This is again, reading the Bible verbatim. Like, what does it really say? Not what somebody, I don't care if 2,000 experts say it says that. Who hires the experts? Who pays the experts for 2,000 years? The people in power. What does it really say? I'm an adult and I'm reasonably decently intelligent to where I can make up my own mind. Thank you. So if I read Elijah was taken to heaven in a whirlwind, that to me means a hurricane or a tornado or something like that, or a fiery pillar if it's like an angelic being. Does a physical body survive that? I don't think so. I would say he is not physically alive. His soul's in heaven. And then he comes back as John the Baptist. Okay, no problem, because it's a soul. And so those past lives and all of that and all these memories of what we've been through, it'll be a source of compassion and empathy, not a source of judgment, because we've all been through it and we've all been down in the mess down here for eons. And that knowledge, as it comes back of you've been everything to everybody, we've all done stuff that we're not proud of and not good. We all done stuff that was significant and amazing too. So you learn to take the good with the bad of what was and move on and let it go and not judge each other and just go on to the, from that moment on. And that's why it becomes such a beautiful place, because the knowledge is there of what not to do anymore. And the confusion of tongues is gone from the Tower of Babel. The confusion of tongues means we started lying and we were no longer telepathic. So we had to speak. We didn't have to speak before, as the real people in Marla Morgan's walkabout told her. The only time they speak or talk is to sing and give glory to the Creator, so our God. And so that's how it will return to be.
So when we're on 5D as well, will they have things like they have here, which causes division, like sports, where there's competition and stuff like that? Will them things be on 5D, or?
You'll have sports, but the desire to win. If you win, like same thing again, I keep your arm back because it's such a beautiful story of how we used to be and how we're going to be. Of Marla Morgan's message from down under, her walkabout across Australia with the real people. And she had this game where she said, okay, I'm going to draw a line here, and we're over here, I'll draw another line, and we're all going to line up here, and we'll run to the other line and see who gets there first. And she said, 1, 2, 3, go. And they all started running different directions and running around and walking and going backwards and taking it. And everybody got across the line over there, and they go, hey, we all won. She goes, no, you don't understand. We're all supposed to run as fast as you can from here to there, and whoever gets there first wins. And they go, but doesn't that mean everybody else loses? Well, yeah, but then somebody gets to win. We go, oh, you won, yay! How's that fun? They go, let us show you a really nice game. So they took a huge leaf and broke it into pieces. They gave each person a piece, and each person, they walked around and then sat down, and they all figured out where their piece went, and they got the leaf put back together. Yay, we all win. We put it back together. That's a game. That's a fun game where everybody wins. And that'll be the type of sports where there's no winners and losers. You just play to have a good time. And you don't really, I mean, imagine going out and playing tennis or ping pong and you don't keep track of the score. So, okay. And you learn to get better at hitting the ball back and forth and trying to keep it in play as long as possible. Instead of trying to make it impossible for the person, you make it hard. And then when they get that, you make it harder again. Like my martial arts instructor would fight me harder and harder over time, always drawing me to become better and better at whatever it is I'm trying to learn to do. The point was not he won and I lost. I'm getting better. And he's getting better because he's getting better at teaching me. And I get to the point where I'm closing in on him, then he's having to up his game. And so it's all a win. Instead of playing to win, we play for everybody to win. We all go out and we just play and have a lot of good time and fun and camaraderie and, sisterhood, brotherhood, whatever it is, and have friends. And you go out and have a good time. So, I mean, yeah, sports where you don't hurt each other intentionally, where the whole point is not to knock the other person's bejeebers out of the other person, or where it's destructive. I mean, that's a cabal sport. And that's why so many of them are built on Masonic and like a diamond, the baseball diamond. It's all Masonic. It's a compass. It's the Masonic emblem, literally. And the numbers and all of that. So all of that references and all that stuff, it's not relevant anymore. So let's change that and make it something that's just a lot of fun. Let's make it God's sacred geometry. I just met with a BFS person's working on that decode. So let's make it in 1, 3, 7, 12, and have a lot of fun. Yay, we got to the Trinity. Yay, we got to the sacred nature of 7. Yay, we got to 12 levels disciples. All right. So, just a way to have fun and glorify the creation.
And in regards to, I don't know, shops, food, you're saying we'll be able to manifest that ourselves, foods and stuff?
On 5D. On 4D, you'll still have those things. That'll be a process of having fun. And, but then again, if there's such an abundance where nobody's hoarding, 99.9999% of everything is a hand of 0.00001% of the people on the planet. If you released all the gold, all of it, take it all out of every one of the mountains in the Alps, which is pretty much all full of gold, and out of everything, and you just gave it to everybody. Who cares anymore? You got gold's not as rare as iron, or silicon on the beach, sand. I mean, it's equal in tonnage. I'm like, well, it's nice. It conducts electricity pretty good. You can render it monatomic and help things heal. You can use it for jewelry. It doesn't tarnish. It has some amazing, interesting qualities and beauty to it. And you use it that way. But when you have such an abundance, the way God creates it, and it's not being hidden or lied about, like diamonds, for example. I had a student that came back from Iraq, and in his hand, his friend with a cell phone, a fellow soldier, had a picture of him from a distance. And he had what looked like kind of a whitish clear baseball in his hand. The friend got close and took the picture again, and it was a diamond the size of a baseball. Uncut, but it was a diamond. And behind him, I could see on the desert floor, baseballs all over the place. What looked like the same thing. And I go, are those all diamonds too? He goes, yeah. We're not allowed to take them back or tell anybody. I just show the picture, but that's basically what it is. Don't tell people who I am, or I don't even remember his name. I purposely delete that information, So when people learn how much there is of what we've been told is, it's beautiful. Diamonds are beautiful, and they have some very powerful qualities to them. And to high technologies to them that they can be used for. So you use things, but things are of a usage level, and the things we need and like that are incredibly abundant. And so if you don't hoard them and one group controls everything, to make it appear rare, everything we need is not rare. it's quite abundant. And so then the need to monetize goes away, because if people do what they love to do, some people love to farm. I had one of the persons that helped instruct me in martial arts, one of the black belts under my first instructor, loved to ride on the back of a trash truck in Hawaii. It's beautiful. Go up on the side of the mountains on the small roads, and they pick up the trash. And he said it was like Christmas every day. Sometimes he'd find things he'd take home that were awesome. They didn't even know. Oh, this is awesome. I like this. He cleaned it up and put it, give it to somebody as a present. Or he was always excited about going to work. And some people just love to talk and be with people. I had a guy in high school that worked as a grocer, bagging groceries. And I came back to, from the military to where I was born and went to the store. He was a cashier now. I'm like, you did 20 years of this store, you became a cashier? Because I had that mindset of the cabal. He goes, yeah, because I love talking to the people. And I know everybody, and I see my friends and people I like, and I get to help them and make suggestions if they are looking for something. I know where everything is. It's nice to help people and talk to people. They asked me to be the district manager. I don't want to be sitting in an office. I want to be with people and talk to people and do all this. I make a good enough living. That's fine. I have what I need and what I want enough. That's all. So if we return to a natural life where fulfillment is helping other people, helping nature, being in nature. If you're a farmer and you love to put your hands in the soil, I do. Other people do. You love to grow, you love to raise horses, take care of horses. There's people that love to do pretty much any job there is. Then you're not going to have the need for incomes. It will go away. With the abundance of things, you go to the stores where you gather foods together so people can go get it. They don't have to go out to this farm, to that farm, to this place, so that they'll just come to the market and get what was delivered. Some people like to drive and pick this up and go, oh, how are you doing, Jim? Go out to your farm, pick that up. Yeah, okay. And then I'll go over to so-and-so's place and pick this up and drop it at the market. And so everything is there. And there's no need even for a barter system. Eventually it all goes away because everybody's doing what they love and they work how much they can handle based on their youth or their health or their desires or their needs and their wants. You go back to a pure nature system like that, pure natural, the way God created everything. That's the way 4D and 5D is.
Will there be governance on these 5Ds, 5D?
4D, yes. 5D, loosely. Again, if you're totally telepathic, if somebody's even at 4D, you're becoming pretty much there. So if you're talking and you're registering the person that you are there is not resonating with you or is getting upset, you go, I say, this isn't something that you want to talk about. So, or it seems like we don't fit together well. Yeah. Okay. Well, nice to meet you. You too. Bye. That's it. There's none of this passion crimes. And then the need for stuff goes away. That crime goes away too. What kind of crime do you have? None. A lot of your governance is controlled crime, which is being run by criminals. That's why you have so much. So if it's not being run by criminals, and then you don't have crimes because telepathic is pretty much the way, you know what people are feeling and thinking. You don't go there. You don't purposely get somebody antagonized, and you don't have all this hidden information. Hidden information for what reason? Information's to learn and to share and to know, to help things grow and help people have the things they need and what they want and all of that. I mean, who really needs, unless you're the head of a country or something, a castle? You don't even get into half the rooms in 100 years. I mean, what's the point? Unless you're going to have tons and tons of guests, and you're a person, and you're been around a long time, and you have lots and lots of knowledge and lots and lots of things you teach, and whole bunches of people you teach and they teach, and so that's a place of learning come together. So you have a castle, kind of that's like a university where people come to teach and have meetings and talk about stuff, and how we're gonna put these people over here to help do this and this. Yeah, you have that initially, but as you get to 5D, that's just known. The need to tell people even how to do things, they just know, because they're back in being pretty much, when you become extremely telepathic, you kite with God, which is a high level of telepathy where to transmit everything you've ever known in your whole life would take you about 2 minutes to another individual. So if you're in that thing, like to talk to God is a matter of a moment. A prayer that you were to say out loud that would take 5 minutes would take a blink of an eye. Focus it in your mind, hold it, and then boom, that's it. Same with other people. So when you get to that level of beingness again, things change incredibly.
And again, will it be where there's borders, there's countries that's been brought in? Will it just be planet Earth and we can go wherever we want? There's nothing can stop us from going anywhere that we want to go.
At high levels of 5D alone, if you focus on somewhere sometime, you're there, just like that. You don't need a vehicle anymore, unless you just want to drive a vehicle. Some people love it. Okay, I understand that. So you would do that. But if the point is to get somewhere, you just focus on it and you're there.
Wow. That sounds good. And again, I take it when we're there, I mean, we will then obviously be interacting with Inner Earth and Hollow Earth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, galactically be able to do that as well. When you know what other places look like, you just focus on what the ships that have blink are. You want to take a whole lot of stuff and people with you to share with people there. Put in a ship, focus, you're there. Blink technology, you blink and you're there.
And what would you say our purpose is on 5D? Or what,
To get ready to go to beyond that, to be planets and galaxies and solar systems and beings of high service to creation.
So is something that we would develop ourselves, or would we be guided in regards to what our next steps are?
Yeah, guided and working with others and experimenting on it with yourself, and seeing, kind of getting an idea of your gifting and the things you love to do and how that would fit in on a grand scale. So, okay, I'm used to build cars, really good at working with gearing, and I loved it. I kind of just was able to rebuild a transmission and just never even did that kind. And I look at it and know how to do it. So that's a gift. It's an engineer, and gearing, and it's kind of like a solar system. And so you might become a solar mechanic. So when you go to 7D or something, you would become a solar mechanic. So you go to a system and this planet's out of whack, kind of adjust the energies and get the planet back into the ecliptic and turning and not upside down or rolling on its side like Uranus. You go to fix systems that when they're ready, okay, Uranus is done rolling around the sun on its side, and this planet's orbiting way out of the ecliptic, kind of join with everybody else and kind of unify and kind of get oriented upright and not be upside down or sideways, so a solar or stellar mechanic or a solar mechanic, or the sun is out of whack a little bit, or the energies need to be adjusted for the life in this system. So we put a little bit of this element in, kind of like cooking. You're a great cook. So, okay, it needs to be greener, the energy coming out. So maybe some thorium, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, So you become a stellar cook, cook up the star.
Wow. So I'm trying to think now. So again, going from 3D to 5D, it's that kind of transition that I'm kind of trying to work out for myself, and from where we are now, and say tomorrow, all of a sudden we're 5D. you're saying that it's like starting all over again. Yeah, we might get our past there, but we'll have them skills straight away, them abilities straight away.
Yeah, but you'll have all your past memories starting to come in too. So you'll have knowledge of what to do and how to do, because you have all of these lessons that you've done, that you've accomplished, and oh, well, that lifetime here I did that, and that over here I did this, and then I could do these two things and do this, and then this, add this one other thing. Kind of like learning to become a cook, or a mechanic. You get different skills, learn how they come together. So it won't be so like thrown into the deep end and go, okay, you can swim. Here you go, swim in a flood, in a flash flood. You go, okay, yeah, no problem.
So, okay, so I take it it's 5D positive. That's good. That will be on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a choice. Some people will choose to stay here on 5D negative.
Okay.
All there's life here.
I see. Right. Okay. Because isn't it from 5D positive that is you say that what I'm trying to work out as well now is that when we're saying at the very beginning, we were saying that we were the 64 strand human beings and we were kind of pure light. How do we drop down to 3D?
A series of maneuvers by the cabal of robbing us and making us do poor choices in which we robbed ourselves of our heritage and who we were and who we are, and then forgetting, and then eventually getting us into a soul trap systems where our awarenesses are erased every time you come back, and it's like you don't know anything, and then changing and taking knowledge out of the sacred books and taking things out, or getting people to interpret them and not say what they say. It says here that Elijah was taken to heaven alive in a whirlwind. Okay. Alive, yeah, in his soul life, yeah, his soul body is alive. Yes, corporeally alive. Even in heaven, are people corporeally alive? Corporeal. Why? They don't need to be anymore. They're beyond that. They're beyond 5D. Why would you be there that way? You wouldn't be there that way. Is God there that way? Of course not. So common sense rules, and then you read it and you stop needing people to interpret it, because you don't need to have someone tell you the earth is 6,000 years old. Based on what piece of scripture? None. We add up a whole bunch of people. Well, what if a whole bunch of people are missing because they had 100 or 30 or 20 councils and removed whole chunks of books with many people you've never even heard of anymore? What happened to all those? And you look at the Sumerian king scrolls, you have kings that ruled for over 10,000 years. Or you go to the Temple of Seti, and one whole wall is omitted for the Egyptian dynasties of people that, you go back to Osiris, who rules for how long? 100,000, 200,000? I don't know. It's a vast length of time. You admit all that time, all of that information comes back, and you get a grand perspective. So instead of interpreting what we have, okay, I'll agree. Let's not go by what's not there. Let's stop interpreting what we have and read and think verbatim what it's saying. So if you see conflicting information, is the earth flat? I don't know. Let's look and see what I know. I do know, because I've seen it from off planet a few times, but I've also been at sea, because it can do the algebra and the trig and all of that other stuff. And it's observably not. You can rent a balloon and get up. You can rent a telescope. You can buy one. You can, and make darn sure that it's not. But let's look at what the Bible says. Is inscribed in a circle that has four corners. I think you're describing the nature of the earth where you are. In other words, Europe, the Middle East, you plot out your land and you got corners, or you have the circle of the area of the earth we live in, the Middle East and Europe or Asia, and those is inscribed within an area of all that I can see, which is, if I turn around, inscribes a circle. So you're describing things in the nature of that people can understand at the time of the time frame when all of the science we've had is gone. Pretty much, you're just bordering on the Stone Age. I mean, you're not even really into having high energy, any energy technology. You're not into having any kind of technical technology. You're not into having much metallurgic technology anymore. You've lost how to make bronze harder than steel, how to make copper harder than steel, how to build a church with these windows that create energies and certain healing properties. All that's gone. How to build buildings that are free energy. They're there, but you don't even know they are there. You're in one, you don't even know it. So all of that comes back, all of that knowledge, but you're in a time of that's how it is. So in that time, you're going to describe to people and try to get them, they're coming out of essentially the Stone Age. So you're going to start trying to give them information. What are you going to use? What kind of words? They don't have the word reincarnation. They have transmutation or transfiguration or resurrection. So you got to use words. They don't have, a lot of people are second density, majority of them, so they cannot in their minds visualize a sphere. You hold a ball up and turn it, and they are in their mind, when they visualize that, they're seeing a disc that constantly has the surface change. Something wrong with that, but okay. So it's describing things to people at that time to get them to a level to where we are now, to where we're getting back to where we can go and have a great awakening, because you have enough information to start putting things together and getting back to who you were and what you knew. You have, I mean, you're not going to sit there and do calculus after you just learned to count. You're going to go, okay, we're going to take the integral, or we're going to differentiate. So we have the holistic part of the equation. You need to get the coefficient of differentiation. They go, what? You need to teach them 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, and then you can teach them 2 × 2 is 4. Why is 2 + 2 and 2 × 2 4? I don't understand. So you have to get the knowledge up to where we are now, and you have to start from that time to this time. So it's to get us from that time to this time, and then the knowledge that was there was removed, was because they didn't want you to be in that knowledge, but now it's coming back up. And so that knowledge will come back out, and now that we're ready, when we're ready for it, it'll come. Thank you, James. Great questions.
But yeah, oh, thank you. I think what I wanted to kind of probably get a bit more clarification on is where you're saying that we were like the kind of the 64 strands, and we were at that highest level of in service to God. And I know you said the Cabal brought us down to this level, but I thought once you got to a certain level and you were completely in service to God, that we couldn't do anything. I thought it was only from 5D negative down that the Cabal was.
Well, they're still, you're interacting with them. And so in trying to help them, sometimes you can get distracted, or you can get so focused into trying to help them, you can start to get caught up in it. Everybody's been, very, very advanced in, even a parent, for example, is, fairly intelligent, good parent, but you get caught up between one child that's upset about this, the other child's upset that they did this. Well, he hit me first. Well, no, he hit me first. No, he touched me first. Well, he touched me before that. And you get caught up in trying to resolve this from the child's point of view. You forgot to be the parent. And so that's what happened. We got caught up at a lower level of things, to where we eventually lost track of who we are.
Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Go it. I mean, there's plenty of more things I can ask on yeah. But the other okay, while we're on the Bible as well, when you're saying there's 777 books in the original Bible, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Because again, I know one, you've said previously that, one of the things that sometimes, people have asked, how do you read the Bible? Yeah. And, I think one of the things you said that sometimes that you randomly, and I've done the same myself, to be fair, where I've just randomly picked up the Bible and opened it up. And it's just given me the answers that I've wanted. It's just been so relevant to this particular time.
Exactly.
But also what it also did when I remember when I first started reading it, I always found that there used to be, we were always in war. We were always fighting. There was always conflict. And I mean, I don't know whether you've ever felt that, but when I read the books, and I just feel that when they specifically given them books, them 66 books, so it had that kind of background, because I just feel that if the Bible is 777 books long and we've only got 66 books, what's that, about 10% of the whole story?
Yeah. And so
it's like if you picked up any book and then there and they just gave you 10% of the book, it's like you don't know the full picture, do you see? So with them particular books specifically designed, whilst I know they have the God in there of Jesus as well, but where they specifically designed, so they obviously sent us on a different direction as well.
Exactly. So we don't really know it, or what, so, but you have a fairly kind of a beginning, leaving the Stone Age kind of idea, what it is. That's what they left. So we can see where it's heading. And, I think it's Greg Braden, something like that. But he talks about that God is within the DNA. The name of God is within. God is within. God is within. Then, the holy name, and then God is within. Not only that, it also, all of the books are in, and also there's even more. There's the blueprint for the creation itself. Of all of the creation is within our genetic material. So they say it's junk because I don't want you to know that stuff. So if that's all within our genetics, imagine what it was, and that's 2 strands. Imagine what the 64 is missing. Again, things taken out. So if all of that's within, it's all within us. The knowing and the knowledge and the creation itself is within us. And the whole blueprint is if somebody was documenting, as he said, somebody was documenting all of it as it was put together or created. And it's all within the genetic code itself, in the, the atomic weights of all the different elements and how they're organized and put together. And so that's literally the document of creation is our DNA. Not just every sentient being, every single thing is. We are the document of the human race, is the document of creation itself. And so when you go and you learn about that and you see that, then if you were to go back up into that and start accruing that material and crystallizing and energizing that and turning on all those alleles that you now have and all the extra carriers of the 32 pairs instead of just using 2 pairs, and then going from 2 strands to 64 and all that, the amount of information is literally enough to know creation, how it was created, where, how, what, everything. The whole thing is there. And so in so knowing that, then you can know without having to have the books.
Right. Okay. No, that's great. That's a great explanation. Thank you. So going back to the 5D as well, for people like myself, that believe they're heading towards the 5D, and obviously we've got knowledge which you've given us, and we've obviously found out ourselves, and as I say, some of the seeds have been planted. We're now obviously some little memories unbeknown to us in our conscious mind are coming back to us. Our adaptation to 5D, I would expect, would be far more easy, much easier, even when we do obviously get this information back to us of our past lives. But yeah, I think you said last time in the last interview that obviously some people are going to find it so traumatic that all of a sudden they've gone from living the way they are. So if it becomes when it's a solar flash, that it's here now, and then the solar flash comes, and then all of a sudden the 5D, are they're going to find it so traumatic? Is that going to be the case? Is that what we're going to be there for them to
Oh, you
kind of?
wouldn't be at 5D if it was too traumatic for you.
Oh, okay. You do go to the 4D, right? Okay.
You'd have time to integrate it.
Okay. So, and then that's part of the sort of thought. So to step up there, and then obviously it'll be then. That's when we'd be helping. So, can us as 5D, if I become 5D, I'm not saying I will, but if I became 5D, I would be able to be around people with 4D to kind of help them with their transition into 5D, and with the guiding them.
Precisely.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just a slower process for them, but obviously, nice, because you did say as well, some people may jump to 6 and 7 in this flash, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some people are ready. Some people are just, yeah, I'm good. I got it. I'm ready to move on and do, some serious service out there. I'm ready to help the planet heal, or help get the solar system back in whack, or
And will a lot of that be will a lot of that be where, for example, we go to 5D, we will kind of know what we're here for then. So we'll know. So for example, it'll be like, I know when I get to that point, that's my role. I know this is what I'm here for now. We've got to the 5D, and now I'm here. This is where I have to work now. This is kind of my responsibility. Whether it be to help people within 4D, or I don't know, or develop things, I don't know. Or do you think that will be there? That our kind of path will be set out?
Oh yeah, it'll start to become part of your realization of what's the point of everything you've done, and all of this information, and what life, and in other words, what's the meaning of life, and then what's the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And all of that knowledge and awareness will slowly be integrated and get back up.
And what about people, for example, people who've come here as star seeds? Again, will they same again? They'll be going to the 5D, or will they?
Majority of the star seeds, once the war is won here, as far as the cabal's done and they're gone, they're going to go back to where they came from.
Okay.
Some of them have been here so long that they kind of like human beings, kind of like being human, or kind of like human beings, or kind of like the solar system and the planet here and that stuff. And they'll say, yeah, I love home, but I love here too. So might go back and forth, or you might decide to stay here for a little more longer, just to kind of help people to get, to 5D and beyond.
I mean, I think so have you been different during your past lives? Have you been different, you say, different beings, or have you always been, well, I know obviously where you're from, but I mean, where have you been actual different beings as well, or have you always come back as humans and then reincarnated as humans, or have you been something else?
In between now and then, I choose to be somewhere else. Yeah, to kind of get a break sometime, or go help somewhere else to get some knowledge, to help something where the knowledge doesn't seem to be here. So I'll go somewhere else and pick up some information for one time over here or over there in a different system. So, kind of like you're in college and you say, okay, They don't really teach this here, but I need it to finish my degree. So I'm going to take a year off and go take a trade school in this, just to kind of round it out. So, or I'll do a travel abroad and I'll see this part of the world because that's where I want to practice and learn to do what I'm learning for my degree. So I'll go over there and do that for a while and then I'll come back like that.
Right. Okay. 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 Right. Okay. Well, I think we've touched on that other hour that we said, Gene. So I thought that maybe it's are you, or unless you want to say some more, Gene, it's whether we want to call it a day on this one. I don't know. What you think?
I think we got a wrap. I think we got it. I think that's really beautiful. We went beyond the regular situation update to the situation update for where do we go next? What happens next when we're done with all this baloney down here, all of this craziness? We're done and we want to get beyond what is beyond. I think we got it covered. Thank you. Really wonderful.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just wanted to kind of finish on a positive note. I know that's something that we try and do. I know obviously with a lot of the things that are out there now, there's a lot of negativity. But again, I just thought it'd be nice to finish on a positive note. To give people an idea of where we're going and then what it's going to be like there. It's something that again we can hopefully envision ourselves, and that might just bring that actual place to us quicker.
Absolutely.
So it was beautiful. Thank you, Gene. Thank you very much for spending the time to answer my questions.
Thank you for the beautiful questions as always, James. Thank you. So, all right. So till the next time, James, thank you and God bless. And thank you everyone and God bless. And we'll see you all the next time. This is James and Gene, two guys talking, signing out. God bless and Godspeed.
Goodbye. Goodbye for now.
So before I go, I would just like to share with you all some items that people sent me to kind of bring everything that James and I said into focus. So first, the nature of the universe, of creation.
The frequency of the universe is music. The one thing that connects everything in the universe is music. Everything and every one of us is made of energy that is vibrating. When things vibrate, they create sound waves, which we hear as sounds, words, or music. Music can literally be the language of the universe. We can feel it. Sound travels in waves, and those waves touch and reach everything in the universe, including our souls. To be in touch with this music, you have to tune into its frequency. That is why your heart beats and your insides are called organs. The rhythm of all is found in all. Sound affects the way you feel. You know what certain pieces of music can have on you, what emotions they can invoke, the way you feel when your favorite song is playing. Well, that is what I mean. Your body is interacting with these sound waves, and because we are all different, we all have different energy patterns, which is our energy signature. We each have a unique interaction with every piece of music we hear. Remember that love is the highest frequency of all. It is a combination of all frequencies and all emotions, which are lower frequencies. So when you embody love, which is who you really are, then you are at total oneness with everything around you, and everything around you will feel this frequency.
So be one with everything, be focused in love and compassion for each other. Appreciate the beauty of all of God's creation. Take time to look out and see the incredible magnitude and beauty, and get yourself, as James was asked me, and what does 5D and how do we get there? Focus on the nature of the beauty of God's creation. And then lastly, I would say to start to be in your love and compassion for others, to start to be amazing because you were created that way.
You don't have to be amazing to start. You gotta start so you can be amazing.
That's exactly right. So thank you, everybody. God bless. Godspeed. Have a beautiful weekend and a glorious and beautiful rest of your lives and this creation, and see the beauty that's coming. God bless. Godspeed.